Hi everyone, welcome back to another Neon Surveys product review video, and today you join us at Leica's survey school testing out a whole array of equipment. So we're down at Leica's survey school looking at GPR, and as you can see there's a few options here. So we're going to split this into a little mini series focusing on two at a time, and we'll go through all the options, things that it can do, and best use case scenarios for each of the devices. So we'll meet up with Shane and start going through it. So we're down with Shane at the Leica's survey school, and this time we're going to be looking at the GPR options that we've got. So we've got a few options here. So should we start with the DSX?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us about this kit, what it does, where's its best use case for,
Okay, so we've got, as you say, a wide variety of equipment here for different purposes, so effectively what you want is the right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
DSX, the Leica product, is initially aimed at repair and maintenance gangs.
Okay.
So guys that use cats and jennies,
Yep.
typically digging holes fairly regularly, quickly.
Yep.
They need a response of what's underneath the ground. Now, by using a cat and jenny, they're only ever going to find anything that's metallic.
Yeah.
They're not going to find plastics. They're not going to find asbestos cements, clay pipes, and those sorts of things. So they ideally need to use a radar system as well. Now, some of the radar systems, some of the more complex sort of radar systems, take a little bit more knowledge, expertise, those sorts of things. So this system, the software of this, is a easy to use, straightforward system for entry-level GPR users, I would say. That's typically where this kit's aimed. But again, like any of these, it's a radar that could be used for any sort of purpose. So 600 meg antenna aimed at, utilities primarily, but it can be used for other purposes.
Yeah, so it's that scenario where you've got guys putting in new ductwork for telecoms, gas, water, that are only on site for, say, a couple of days, wanting to find the stuff, dig the hole, get the new utility in.
Absolutely.
And it's enabling them to avoid that hitting utilities that can't be detected with the EML.
Yeah, absolutely. So the guys can use this, fairly straightforward. They can do a simple grid on site. They can create a report. They can show their, bosses that they've covered an area and those sorts of things. They can show exactly what areas have been covered. So for those sorts of purposes, it's ideal.
Yeah, and I'm also looking at its form factor as well. That obviously it's a lot smaller than perhaps some of the other units. So when the guys have got their vans with all the other equipment that they need for that, it seems perfect for that job.
Yeah, it packs down. You can see the handle on it. We'll have a look at that shortly. With it all packed down, and it's carryable sort of unit to site, and allows the guys just to crack on.
So roughly with this, what sort of, I know with GPR ground conditions affect it a lot, but what sort of depths will you be getting?
So this is a 600 meg antenna. So in ideal ground conditions, we're probably down to sort of 2 or 3 meters.
Okay.
One of the things I don't like is I had somebody in last week and they were saying, we can see to 7, 8 sort of meters, and radar's limited by the physics of physics. So a 600 meg antenna will typically see down to 2-3 meters, which is covering most of your utilities. So that sort of range.
So again, like you say, for the guys that are the works guys that are putting in new utilities, they're never really going that deep anyway, are they?
We're lucky to have a telecom cables that are buried more than 50 mil.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of
so that depth with this would be perfect for them to find that. So that's cool. So its operating system is all through the tablet?
So it's a Windows tablet. Obviously it's a powerful Windows tablet. It can be used for other purposes as well, but that connects via a LAN cable into the system. Switch the tablet on, switch the system on, go into the software, and away you can run with it, really.
And we'll show some shots in a minute of the operating system and us using it, but the system itself, the operating system and the software, it's relatively intuitive, is it? Or
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Sort of...
You know, as I said, it's aimed primarily at probably repair and maintenance gangs, as you said. Those guys digging holes in the street, real time. They're not experienced geophysicists or anything like that, you know, positioning, surveying, it's all a different world for them. They can drive a machine, they can do all that sort of stuff, same as we'd be struggling there. So to have a system that's intuitive, straightforward for them to use is absolutely key.
Okay. So in terms of our sort of obviously saying they don't need to have that survey background, is this system only a sort of arbitrary setup, or can we tie this into sort of control and stuff like that?
Yeah, so again for me the key is positioning. So all of our systems, including the DSX, can be positioned. So they can either be positioned manually by doing a grid or something like that, you can mark on the ground, or that we can use a positioning system like a GNSS or a total station, you know, or any of those sorts of things. So we can position our where we've covered with our GPR, and then obviously our responses are then mapped effectively in 3D.
3D, cool, okay. Okay, so there we go. So that's the key features and key points of the DSX. So shall we move on to the DS2000 and see what the difference between the two is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, we'll hop that one back. Cool.
Forward. Okay.
So yeah, so we've got DS2000. So yeah, obviously bigger unit than the DSX.
Yep.
So yeah, tell us about this one. What's
so this
one for?
kit it's probably been one of the go-to radars for standard utility surveyors for quite a while. In fact, when I was surveying, I bought a number of these sort of systems, and they were, you know, a beast, I suppose, on site. We could use them through any sort of terrain, and it was typically used as a mark out tool. So we do our utility survey, lift all our manholes, do all our EML work, and then we would look at, you know, then introducing the radar sort of thing, depending on the specification we were working to, and we'd basically mark out on site with this sort of system any other anomalies or anything else we found. So how does this kit differ from this? I would probably say this is probably aimed more towards utility survey companies and individuals, those undertaking utility mapping sort of exercises. So this the DSX has a single antenna at 600 megahertz. And this has two antennas inside it, a shallow antenna and a deep antenna in effect. So it's able to see with good clarity in the first, you know, 2.5 meters, 3 meters or whatever. And then the lower frequency antennas, hopefully then able to see a little bit deeper as well.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So again, controlled, same software between the two?
No,
or
different softwares. So that software was developed for that system, ease of use and that sort of thing. And then we've probably got a little bit more, how can I say, a level of software that allows more manipulation and looking at the data in those sorts of ways. Okay,
so you can see more information, but you almost need to have that knowledge of what you're looking at.
You need to have a little bit more knowledge with it. But that's not, you know, coming by itself as such. You know, as you know, this is our training school, so we do training courses here. So we introduce these people of best practice, best use of GPR. You know, and again, a Windows-based system, so you know, another tablet that can be utilised.
Okay. So you've said this system and the DSX system is more of a locate it and still mark on the ground. Can you take this information and post-process it and run it through software?
So that's a interesting point. I mean, any of these systems, as we said, can be used with a positioning system. So on this, you can see the pole mounted on it, and we're using a GNSS here. So this is our FLX 100. And this is a nice lightweight sort of system that can then be used for GIS purposes as well. So we can actually survey with this. Or we can use, hopefully we'll get a chance to have a look at it later, some augmented reality. So we can use that to position ourselves with our tablet or whatever to see the utilities we find underneath the ground. So yeah, we can collect the data with this, position the data, then we can bring that back to the office and post-process our GPR data with it.
Looking at, obviously, the obvious difference between the two is size-wise, how are these two units sort of best coping with, or best environment to be used in? Is that one, say, mostly tarmac and firm ground? Could this be used off ground, on like softer ground, or what environment, say, do you see this one being used over that one?
I would probably say anything and everything for both of them. I think primarily that one's probably used, you know, for street works, repair and maintenance gangs, as we discussed, and then this system everywhere.
Okay.
And anything. I mean, you know, I've used them in the field. I've pushed through hedges with them and all sorts of things. They're quite a robust sort of system.
They're a sturdy unit.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And again, like say, so obviously we can position everything with GPS. Assuming we can also do total station positioning.
Absolutely, yeah. We can put a prism on there and use a pseudo NMEA, or in fact, from our total stations, there's a streaming app, so we can stream an NMEA string, a pseudo NMEA out, so we can tie into the local control.
Cool. And again, I know it sounds obvious, but they're all battery operated.
Yes.
Yeah. Batteries on board.
Yeah, batteries are all on board. 12-volt battery on this system, and then those effectively use the same batteries as in the P series.
Okay.
So the smaller, the jet batteries. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. Okay, so that's a bit of an overview of both of those. So I think now let's go and do some actual scanning. And I know at the school you've got a nice setup here with lots of utilities buried in around. So yeah, we'll go use them in sort of a real world environment and see what we can locate and see what we do. So there we go, that's the DSSX and the DS2000. So we'll wrap this video up here, and then on the next one I think we're going to be looking at the Stream Up and the Stream DP. So like, follow, subscribe, comment below if you've used either of these, what your experience is with them, and yeah, catch you on the next video.